We have a seminar about subjective well-being, its measurement and use in public policies and decision-making in Mexico and Latin America. We'll have 1 day and a half, and please take a seat in order to begin to the inauguration. We have with us Dr. Eduardo Sojo, President of the National Institute of Statistics and Geography, Francisco Váldes-Ugalde, General Director of the FLACSO-Mexico. We'll give them the floor for the inauguration. Good morning. Welcome to this seminar organized jointly between FLACSO and INEGI. We thank you for this collaboration, this synergy that we have with this great institution. Please let me give you a few words about this topic, the context of why INEGI is involved in subjective well-being. I'll begin by saying that the national statistics have a fundamental role for the measurement of the pulse of society, and the law describes it very clearly. It says the national system on statistical and geographic information has the purpose of supplying to the society and the state information, quality information that is pertinent, truthful, in order to help to national development. So it's very clear official statistics should generate information that may allow to assess to what extent we are advancing in our country in development. In this regard, over the years, and particularly since half of the 20th century, development has been measured more in terms of the availability of goods and services. This way, the development since those times has been more linked with the measurement of the level and growth of GDP. And yes, indeed, GDP has been and is the most popular indicator, the most successful indicator that has been built in this regard in statistics, but this indicator somehow is limited to measure the progress of societies. Since Simon Kuznets, the intellectual father of GDP, he recommended from the beginning not to ask this indicator more than the indicator could give. And particularly, he said that we can't make it equivalent to the well-being of people. Since GDP is concentrated a lot in the production of goods and services, it leaves aside important elements of human well-being, and on the other side, not everything being measured has an effect in a better quality for people. And this discussion is not new at all. There's a quote frequently used in this fora that I'm going to repeat here from Robert Kennedy in his campaign in 1968. And he said that national domestic product in the U.S., it counts the special padlocks for our doors and jails for people who break them. However, he said that national gross product doesn't take into account the health of our children, the quality of their education, or their enjoyment of play. Indeed, talking about progress is talking about beyond GDP. Talking about progress is talking about quality of life, justice, freedom, where people may develop to the utmost their capacities at the time they live satisfactory lives and pleasant lives and with meaning. This new concept on how to measure the progress of societies has been in many disciplines for a long time. I think we are a little bit late, the official statisticians. We are late, but now the topic on how to measure the progress of societies is taking a great boost. We are late, but we are going faster. There are several statements, for instance, from the UN that calls the states to try to elaborate or create additional measures for the pursuit of happiness and well-being. The report on human development of the UN started reported satisfaction with life indicators since 2010. The OECD, who has been in charge of these topics in recent years, also measures subjective well-being for the member countries and has proposed a framework to measure well-being and progress. And recently, and Marco for sure will talk about this, it has generated a document called Guidelines for the Measurement of Subjective Well-being. And for me, this is fundamental because each statistic that you find all over the world, there's always someone who tries to compare every country. If we talk about employment, we have the WLO or the WHO. If we talk about prices, we have the IMF. But there's always someone who's trying to point out how we should measure and generate the indicators so that all the statistics may be comparable. In this regard, since there were no guidelines on how to measure subjective well-being, the statistics in the countries were not comparable. I think that this effort from the OECD it's really important, and now OECD and several other countries, the UK, it's important to highlight their initiatives. Bhutan, that was leader in this regard, France, Philippines, Italy, China, New Zealand, Mexico, Canada, and Chile have started or are considering to generate indicators on subjective well-being. For INEGI, particularly, this is a very important topic, and therefore this year we'll be presenting, maybe in the second semester, a framework, a similar framework, but adapted to Mexico on the approach followed by the OECD, where we may have, on one hand, the goods and services, and on the other hand, quality of life, sustainability, and in quality of life will indeed include all these topics related to subjective well-being that we've started to measure. And when we start measuring these things in INEGI, they are called experimental statistics, because there are no specific guidelines on how to measure them. You may find in INEGI other kind of experimental statistics, for instance, to measure middle classes, something quite interesting as well, but there's no definition on what is middle class, but we are going to produce information of middle classes, and it was called experimental statistics because there's no special measurement. It's also the same for the NEET, or those who neither work nor study. And we're very excited with these measurements. The first reports of the module known as VIARE, the self-reported well-being, had good acceptance among society, and we are thinking that by 2014 to do a survey not only with the national data, but also all the data at the level of each one of the states in Mexico, along with a survey of income and revenues of the households to know the differences in our country. Indeed, it's interesting, and that's why it received widespread acceptance, because it's interesting to know how happy are Mexicans, how satisfied they are with their lives, our emotional balance. But the usefulness of this is how this is related. That is, why it is more subjective for more people than others, and how this information can be used to take decisions. That's the most important part. Not only the information itself that helps us to know us better, but it has to be related to someone else to take that information to make decisions, actions, and design public policies. And that's the spirit of this seminar. That's why we're here today, so that qualified experts nationwide and worldwide may give us their standpoint on how to articulate this increasing information with the decision-making in households, in companies, in the government. So we'll have the opportunity to listen to several specialists. I'm very satisfied, Francisco, with the seminar that we have formed. I congratulate the organizers because we formed a seminar that is formidable. It's at the level of any other seminar in the world. It's going to be very interesting, and I'm going to finish with the suggestions that we normally give in these seminars, the traditional 2 ones and one additional. Traditionally, in these seminars, we suggest we should know how to dialogue and how to listen. We need to dialogue in the strict sense of the word dialogue. That means to change seats, to see things from others' perspective, and know how to listen, as Senator Juan Carlos Romero Hicks says, because when we listen, we run the risk of learning. And in these seminars, I think that's why we are here, to listen and to learn. And an additional suggestion that we normally don't mention, but I think here it's compulsory: enjoy the seminar. I think this seminar is really to be enjoyed. Thanks a lot, and thank you, FLACSO, for this seminar. Thank you very much, Dr. Sojo. Welcome you and INEGI for this seminar that we have organized jointly. And first of all, I'd like to give a warm welcome to our guests from other countries, our keynote lecturers and participants, both foreign and Mexicans, and the audience in general, who has decided, both academics and students, to participate and attend this seminar. Also, apart from welcoming you, I want to say that 2013, we celebrate 20 years of our master's degree in population and development. Master's degree coordinated by Dr. Cecilia Gallet, who played a role along with Mariano Rojas, academician of this institution, on our part, our central part in the organization of this event, jointly with the researchers of INEGI, and I really want to congratulate you warmly and thank you for the effort. And we finally are here after the hard work of coordinating, invitating, booking hotels, and doing all the work behind an effort like this. For FLACSO-Mexico and for FLACSO in general in Latin America, is therefore a pleasure and honor to have you here with us and conduct this event. I would like to say a couple of things that are quite simple, that maybe could complement the vision expressed very clearly by Dr. Sojo with regard to the importance of this topic and the problems of statistics. One of the first things that called my attention regarding subjective well-being and its measurement in terms of national statistics or international statistics, as the case may be, is that there's a surprise. It was a surprise for me. At least, I'm not a statistician, I'm not a specialist in this topic. I'm a politologist, I'm a specialist in other topics, but naturally, for me, all the social sciences are quite interesting. The first thing you see when you find the measurements of subjective well-being is a surprise that people might feel better or worse than what their material development would suppose. That is, there could be an important material development, but a low subjective well-being. There could be a material development that is low or underdeveloped, precarious, but they can report in terms of what people perceive as well-being an inverse relationship. But most importantly, in terms of international statistics, is that just as with subjective well-being, when it was measured, in other matters, once you start measuring from the statistics, it becomes to life. That is, it acquires a body, a presence in the public space. It acquires importance in the debate, in democratic dialogue. It acquires importance that it previously didn't have because of lack of information in the political decision and in the decisions regarding public policies. So statistics, understood as an activity that belongs to the state, didn't measure issues that are fully incorporated in it. I remember an experience from the 80s and 90s when human development started to be measured, when they started measuring the social capital and others. Now, it's the turn of subjective well-being, and I think that the data and the elements given by Dr. Sojo with regard to the countries who have taken initiatives for its measurement are indicators of an importance and a fundamental interest for the qualitative aspects of social life. But I think that even in terms of statistics, there are many other aspects that will be still left in the agenda of what has to be measured. And with my own professional education, one of the issues that is most worrisome or worrying that are not measured in formal statistics and official statistics is the extent and the quality of the information with which the citizens make decisions about public matters. We all know that in political theory, information is central because from the information we have, we'll have the votes, and from the decision obtained will be decision to affiliate or reject certain public policy or collective action or state action. And the information with which we have available now from the statistical point of view for decision-making of the citizens is still very scarce and precarious. I don't want to take this space to go any further. I only put this as one example among many others of the issues that are not a reality yet. That is, they do not have yet that corporeity that they would need to have so that the quality of our societies and the quality of our political systems may effectively evolve beyond the situation in which they are. In FLACSO Latin America and in FLACSO-Mexico, we are very interested in new approaches and perspectives to tackle the social problems. What the statistics may incorporate or not depends what the scientists, both male and female social scientists, can say about reality. And furthermore, what is feasible to propose as ways towards the social change, towards the public policy and the transformation of the surroundings. So, to the extent knowledge is better developed, to that extent it's possible to contribute to take better decisions and contribute to really transform the society in a positive manner. I think that for all the social scientists, this is a very important topic, and it's a very important contrast, the difference when you research on a topic between the available information and the unexisting information. You always find this problem, unless you only work with the databases of what is already built. But when you have a research problem of any other nature, you always find that there's certain information available and other information that is not available. And therefore, the social scientist has to collect information that are not solved in the general statistics. And however, these are issues of public interest that could be incorporated in the general statistics. This is always an effort and a characteristic, an everyday characteristic of the work of all the social scientists, and we think that the progress, as in this case, in measuring subjective well-being, as we may incorporate other areas of the reality, will allow that the effort of the social scientists to be less directed to collecting information and more to the exploration of the dimensions, social dimensions that such information allows to assess. Well, I think that this seminar that we begin today will be very interesting and fruitful. I give you again the warmest welcome to Mexico, those who come from abroad, to FLACSO, those who come from Mexico, everyone, welcome to FLACSO. And really, I want to thank the National Institute for Geography and Statistics for the effort in order to make this seminar possible. Thank you very much.